I'm out on a dog walk, hoping that the microphone from these headphones still works, because I did in fact run them through the washing machine within the last 24 hours without realizing. Juniper, stop. And we're out in the neighborhood, and I just wanted to hop on and chat about, good girl, and chat about the idea of stacking functions. This is a term that comes to us from permaculture, which is an ecological design system, but it actually also exists in a lot of creative disability culture. Hacks is what we might call them. This way, Juniper. This way. It's very exciting here in the neighborhood. So stacking functions refers to each element in a system accomplishing multiple functions, and each function in a system being supported by multiple elements. So I'll give you an example. In a garden, having multiple things growing that provide food means you've got multiple elements, multiple plants that are supporting different function, that are supporting the same function, So the function is food, right? Providing food. And you've got plants that flower at different times, that fruit at different times, that have different kinds of disease and fungus susceptibility. So that's a much more resilient and robust system than one in which you're only growing one type of food. Because if a fungus comes along that targets, say, tomatoes, and you're only growing tomatoes, that's it, right? If a weather incident comes along and the wind destroys everything over 3 feet tall and you didn't have anything under 3 feet tall growing food for you, that's it. So that's an example of same function supported by multiple elements. Now, the opposite is one element supports multiple functions. What does that mean? Well, for example, you might look again at that same fruit tree and you might think, the one function of that fruit tree, man, I picked the noisiest possible time to go on this walk, didn't I? It's usually very quiet on this street. Oh. So let's consider that same fruit tree. We might think that the fruit tree's main or only function is providing fruit, but actually it's also providing shade, which if you live anywhere sunny and hot, you know is an essential, not a luxury function. It's providing often food for animals as well, right? Squirrels are going to get some of it. It's providing soil structure, erosion control, right? The root system of my apple tree on my very steep hillside is helping hold that soil in place, so in a storm, it doesn't all slide into my living room at the bottom of the hill. That tree is also providing wood. When we prune the tree, which is for the health of the tree and for increasing its fruit-bearing capacity, without it getting overloaded and cracking or falling over, then we have all this beautiful apple wood, say if it's the apple tree, left over that we can use to build things in the garden like fences or garden boxes or stakes that we can use to build things in the house. We can also use that wood as decoration, right? So it has many functions in that sense. There's a lot of different functions supported by that one apple tree. And then I would say also pleasure is a function, joy. You know, we think of these things as luxuries, and then things happen like pandemics, and we realize that for everyone, if we don't do something with our day that's fun, whether it's making sourdough, connecting with our family, or doing a puzzle, or just laughing alone, that's an essential function too, right? So that's the concept of stacking functions. Every element supports multiple functions, and every function is supported by multiple elements. And the reason I brought this up on a dog walk, despite the ill-advised sound engineering situation, is this. First of all, can you hear that I'm out of breath? It's not because I'm out of shape. It's It's because all the blood tends to pool in the bottom of my body when I'm upright, and I took off my compression socks because they're made of wool and it's hot outside. The trials and tribulations. But look at this beautiful walk. So the reason I bring this up is outings like dog walks or driving somewhere if you drive. They can often use up our energy, not just for the day, but for the week. Or maybe we didn't have any to begin with, right? A lot of us are operating with negative energy units. It's like, for those of you who don't have this experience, it's like if you plugged in your phone all night to charge it and you woke up and not only had it not charged, it had drained, right? So it's like realizing that you didn't plug in your phone charger or the electricity was out, but for your body and your brain, most nights, for some of us every night. So we're waking up not just with the same amount of energy, but with less, even sometimes with negative energy, right? So we have an energy debt that sleep doesn't fix. This is what we're talking about when we're talking about spoons, is those units of energy. Most people have enough to do most of the things they need to do in a day, except it's not most people. Because if you look at the percentages of people who are either temporarily or permanently disabled or chronically ill, it's a huge portion of the population. If you live long enough, you're going to be in that portion of the population, right? It comes for all of us. So how are we building systems that support ourselves and each other right now? Because it's not just a tiny minority, which would still be deserving of support. It's most of us. So an outing like this dog walk is probably going to use up the rest of, if not my physical energy for the day, my mental energy, right? And I'm probably not going to make another outing in order to get something that I need. So in my mind, as a gardener, I always have a little running list. And if you can't do it in your mind, right, for cognitive reasons, or that's just not how your brain works, you can do it on your phone. You can do it on a sticky note. I just have a running list of things that I would like, things that I need, things that I need to accomplish. And for me, things that I would like always includes, and this has been true my whole life, a really good stick. Because I am secretly a golden retriever. My dog does not care about sticks at all, but I love them. So one of the things I'll often do on a dog walk is get some really good sticks. What do I mean by that? Well, in this neighborhood, there are redwood trees and there are willow trees. Redwood is a very strong wood that also endures the elements without rotting very well. So when the redwood trees drop big enough branches during storms or wind or just because they do, I often collect them while I'm out on my dog walk. In the winter, I made evergreen wreaths out of them. But right now they're dropping dead bare branches. And some of them are big enough that I can use them in the garden to build fences, to create stakes. And those are things that people spend money on to get them made out of plastic, which, if you'll remember, is the mined, dug up, quarried petroleum that is like the last of the dinosaur bones, you know? We're going to run out of that. You don't need it for your garden stakes. But a lot of the DIY hacks to get around environmental issues like that are really not accessible to a lot of disabled people, right? So like make your own stakes, you know, carve wood, whatever the thing is. How can you do that in a way that doesn't actually add any more effort, any more spoon debt, any more energy debt to your day? So I choose to take walks in spaces where I might be able to pick up a couple things for free that I need for the garden. And I just take as much as I can actually comfortably carry with whatever energy I have. You might bring a basket or a backpack with you if carrying in your hands is not going to be an option. So here's one of those redwoods I was talking about. And there's just some sticks on the ground. I'm not going to take any of these because they're not quite big enough for what I'm looking for. And I just took some the other day from a different one. And I'm using them to create a new garden bed. I'm just sort of laying out the walls of the garden bed using these sticks because I'm going to get some friends to come help me in the garden soon. And I want them to understand what is path and what is garden. Another stick that I love to get is willow. When they do tree work in our neighborhood, because we're in a fire zone, so that does happen. Often, it is dry out. Often they will be pruning the willows. And so that means that it's greenwood. Willow is an incredible building material. You can weave fences out of it. You can weave baskets out of it. I've been using it to create screens to keep the squirrels and the rats from eating the produce that's growing in the garden. And you can get thin, whippy willows that you can actually bring inside if you take all the leaves off outside and work on things, projects made out of the willows for the garden while you're in bed, right? So that's another great one. Willow is also an incredible plant because it will reroot. If you take a green cutting and you stick it in some potting medium, you get a willow plant a lot of the time. So I'm also always looking for things that other people think are weeds or, good job, Juniper, weeds or waste that I'm going to turn into something I want for my garden. There's a lot of weeds that are also secretly medicinal herbs. Now you got to keep an eye out for things that have road runoff or dog pee on them, that sort of thing, or other people's pesticides. But there's so many things that you can find on your one outing of the day or week or whatever it is for free. Just keep that list running and see if you can always keep or bring away to carry the things home in a way that doesn't hurt your body. This has been Stacking Functions on a Dog Walk. Now I have to go fulfill a different function of the dog walk that it has to do with a little plastic bag. And I hope you're having a beautiful day. Enjoy Stacking Functions in the garden. We'll see you later, Spoonies.